Did you know that the truths you rely on might be shaping a future you didn't expect? In today's world, where pleasure has become a religion and technology threatens the essence of our humanity, ancient biblical prophecies are not just accounts of the past, but urgent warnings for our immediate future. Discover how these forgotten truths can offer swift and transformative answers to the challenges we face today. Stay with us, and I promise to unveil secrets beyond your imagination, challenging everything you thought you knew. In this period of uncertainties, we find ourselves at a pivotal point in the year 2024 in biblical prophecies. I will present 4 essential trends to watch. These transcend simple preaching and represent a call for us to pay attention to the prophecies that are materializing in our current context. Every day, we witness biblical teachings taking shape around us. As 2024 approaches, the relevance of these prophecies intensifies. We cannot disregard these signs. Trend number 1, global unity. The emergence of global unity and collective administration, resulting from the growing global interconnection through trade, technology, and geopolitical issues, may lead to a collective effort to establish robust global alliances and perhaps move toward a more consolidated global governance system. Biblical passages like Revelation 13, 7, 8 mention a supranational entity that gains dominion over all peoples, languages, and nations. What should be observed here is the evolution of global unity and governance, which are architecting the global stage for a significant prophetic role. The rise of this wave of global integration is no mere coincidence. It is essential to recognize this fundamental step in preparing the ground for the rise of a global leader, the Antichrist. As we observe the formation of alliances and unions among nations, it is crucial to remember that these are not just geopolitical movements. We are witnessing the fulfillment of millennia-old prophecies. The scriptures had already announced the arrival of a man destined to rule the world, wielding unprecedented influence and commanding an extensive global system. Everything happening around us is interconnected. No event is isolated. As you follow the unfolding of history, realize that everything is intertwined. Every war, every rumor of war, every alliance, and every disagreement are integral parts of the divine prophetic plan. The world may seem chaotic, but even in the face of today's surprising events, God is not taken by surprise. All events are aligned with God's prophetic timetable. While among us, Jesus already warned us about future events, reinforcing the vision that everything is intertwined within a greater purpose. And the book of Revelation provides additional details that allow a better understanding of current world events. Whenever you observe global events or watch the news, question how these events align with biblical prophecies and how they are connected to the Lord's return. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in isolation. Everything is part of the prophetic timeline established by God. Revelation 13, 7 mentions, "And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations." This verse suggests that such an influential number would require an infrastructure that transcends borders and conventions, encompassing global systems. Here, we identify another crucial trend in the global scenario: systems and digital currencies. The rise of digital currencies has been notable, with increasingly strong calls for the creation of a global digital currency that facilitates transactions and establishes a universally accepted economic system. This transition from traditional physical money is not just a matter of efficiency or security. It reflects a gradual evolution towards unification in all aspects, including the economy. A unified digital currency could effectively pave the way for the predicted leader to exercise unprecedented control over global commerce. As these trends evolve in 2024 and the following years, it is crucial to interpret them not just as isolated geopolitical or economic events, but as significant elements that integrate into the complex puzzle of end times prophecy. Observing these patterns, the faithful can discern the times and prepare their hearts and minds for what is to come in the prophetic scenario. Trend 2. Technological advances. The second relevant aspect is technological advances and the mark of the beast. If we were to go back a century or even two, the landscape of science and technology as we know it today would seem almost unimaginable. The progress made in a relatively short period is undoubtedly impressive. From the advent of rudimentary machines to the sophisticated digital world in which we are deeply immersed, we have witnessed a transformation that could be described as miraculous. In today's society, the technological journey has been a milestone of innovative curiosity and the relentless pursuit of the unknown. Revelation 13, 16, 17 describes that everyone, both the insignificant and the powerful, the rich and the poor, free and slaves, will receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads. Without this mark, no one will be able to buy or sell except those who have the mark, the name of the beast, or the number of his name. This description, historically seen as a distant and almost mystical prophecy, suggests a time when people will be marked on their right hand or forehead, a mark that will become essential for economic transactions, a requirement without which it will be impossible to participate in the basic activities of buying or selling. What was once unimaginable, the accelerated technological evolution of our days, makes this biblical image increasingly probable. One cannot disregard the surprising speed with which technology advances, transforming tasks and innovations that previously took decades or even centuries to materialize, now accomplished in just a few years or months. We live in an era where the dreams of yore have become the realities of today, and what was considered impossible in the past, like a global system monitoring every transaction we participate in, is now fully possible. 200 years ago, such a level of surveillance was inconceivable and technically impractical. However, today this is a palpable reality. The infrastructure needed for the degree of control, power, and surveillance that the Antichrist requires, as described in Revelation 13, 13 and 17, is already established. Looking ahead to 2024, this trend is expected to continue. Recently, when I accessed my car's app, I was surprised to find that it had recorded every trip I made in the last 3 years, including the duration of each journey, where I stopped and how long each stop lasted. This experience highlighted to me the level of surveillance we are currently subjected to. The very infrastructure that the Antichrist will use to exercise dominion over the world is being built around us. Given the pace of technological advancement, we can expect that we will continue to approach this reality more and more closely. Described in Revelation 13 over the years, various scholars and theologians have employed creative calculations to try to identify the Antichrist through the number 666. However, I must admit that no one really understands the exact meaning of this number, yet it is expected that the believers present on earth during this period will clearly understand its meaning within the grand scheme of biblical prophecy. As we navigate this advanced era, the intertwining threads of biotechnology, advances in digital finance, and individual surveillance reveal a pattern that aligns frighteningly with the prophecy of the mark of the beast. As we navigate this advanced era, it is crucial to observe, reflect, and discern. Trend number 3, apostasy. The third trend is apostasy, or the departure from the true faith. As 2024 approaches, we have witnessed shocks within the very foundation of the faith that upholds Christianity. These tremors indicate a growing estrangement from fundamental principles, a phenomenon that requires our ongoing vigilance and discernment to understand the signs of the times and maintain fidelity to the original teachings. The impactful words of Paul in 2 Thessalonians 2:3 about apostasy have never been as pertinent as they are now. The term apostasy comes from the Greek word apostasia, which conveys a deep meaning including concepts of abandonment, fall, desertion, and revolt. In 2 Thessalonians 2:3, the text does not merely refer to a simple departure, but to a broad phenomenon where a large number of people turn away from God. It is not just a few individuals or a minority. We are facing an unprecedented global rebellion against God. In our times, I have never witnessed anything like this. Throughout my life, the world has undergone significant transformations, and I have observed a shift in moral proportions in relation to biblical doctrine. It seems the world repudiates what is holy and just and welcomes sin and ungodliness. There are churches today that openly allow their pastors to live in sin, celebrating and glorifying injustice. By 2024, you will witness an increase in this great estrangement among nations. There is a growing number of deviants in the churches, and the fervor that many once had for the Lord has diminished. The love of many for God has cooled, reflecting an alarming distancing from the true faith. The church has infiltrated the world, and the world has infiltrated the church. Allow me to reiterate this statement, for it is profound and true. In the current dynamic, the church has influenced the world, while the world simultaneously has infiltrated and impacted the church. As a believer, it is your responsibility to ensure that you are not conforming to this world. As a faithful follower, it is essential to ensure that you are not corrupted by worldly influences. The world will try to mold you to its own beliefs and ideologies, but your convictions must remain aligned with the Word of God, the Bible. This world will try to convince you to accept practices that God does not approve of, which do not promote a holy and just life, but rather endorse a doctrine of hedonism. The world pushes you towards immediate gratification and ephemeral pleasures. The religion of this world is one of carnal indulgence, which may make you feel as if you have the right to sin, prioritize personal interests above others, or continue indulging in sin because it seems pleasurable. However, remember that such influences will lead you even further from the divine purpose for your life. It is vital to stand firm in faith and protect your walk with God against the incursions of worldliness that try to weaken your spirituality. There is a troubling trend emerging from the world and penetrating the church, people who claim to be Christian but do not follow the Bible. This assertion is contradictory, much like saying, "I am a vegetarian, but I eat chicken and beef." Such worldly ideas infiltrating the church are alarming. You cannot be a Christian and disregard the Bible. We are witnessing a significant departure from the true faith right before our eyes. It is crucial to recognize that many have already been led astray, and many more are on the verge of doing so. Your devotion to God must be intentional. Your decision to follow Jesus must be deliberate. You need to consciously choose to walk the narrow path, for few find it, even as we witness this great apostasy unfold. Make sure this trend does not involve you. Cling to your faith, adhere to sound doctrines, and remain faithful to the teachings of the Bible. The year 2024 brings promises, but also challenges for the church. The responsibility is not only to guard against apostasy, but also to actively promote sound doctrine, ensuring that the faith, once delivered to the saints, remains uncorrupted. Trend number 4, moral decay and changes in social values, represent a sinister trend for 2024. The fabric of society is built from values, norms, and morals that keep communities together. When these pillars weaken or change direction, society inevitably undergoes a transformation. As we approach 2024, the gradual shift from traditional biblical teachings and values, as described in the second letter to Timothy, 2 Timothy 3:1-5, is becoming more evident, with selfishness, pride, blasphemy, and a loss of natural affection on the rise. It is imperative to recognize and address this moral decay. One of the most blatant manifestations of this change is the alarming increase in selfishness. More than ever, we live in an era dominated by the me-first mentality. The biblical warning that men would become lovers of themselves seems eerily relevant today. We observe husbands and wives prioritizing their own desires above the needs of their families, and the phenomenon of the celebrity pastor, where the leader becomes more prominent than the teachings of Jesus Christ. This trend highlights the need for a vigorous response to preserve the values that sustain the integrity of our communities. The excessive focus on ourselves is making us insensitive to the needs of others, giving rise to a new religion, the religion of self and pleasure. This religion of pleasure is not new to fallen humanity, which has always been drawn to it. Today, many worship at the altar of pleasure, living in an era dominated by those who seek pleasure rather than seekers of God. It is an era that adopts the mantra, "Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die." The religion of pleasure is, in essence, the worship of the flesh. We must be vigilant, as our own nature is seduced by pleasure, including the fleeting satisfaction that sin provides. No one is immune to this seductive allure. I'm tired of Christians who try to pretend that there is no pleasure associated with sin. There is indeed pleasure that accompanies sin, a desire that the carnal man yearns intensely for. Do not be deceived by those who claim that there is no pleasure in sin. There is pleasure in fornication, in adultery, in sexual immorality, and even satisfaction in sowing discord and seeking revenge. Drugs and alcohol also offer their own tempting forms of pleasure. Sin, in its various forms, may be attractive, but it is crucial to recognize and resist these temptations, remaining faithful to biblical teachings and striving for a life that honors God above all. Before we proceed, allow me to share with you an important verse, 1 Timothy 5:6. "But she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth." This verse speaks profoundly about the condition of the wicked person who lives exclusively in search of pleasure. Such a person, though alive, is essentially dead because they do not live for God. The pleasure of sin is ephemeral. It deceives because it never lasts. The pleasure of sin always creates an insatiable desire for more. As we move towards 2024, the world will continue to worship at the altar of pleasure. The religion of pleasure is inherently selfish, encouraging you to place your sinful desires above the well-being and future of your loved ones. Fall in love with your family, put them before pleasure. Think about how your sin can destroy your family, cause divisions, and distance you from your fundamental responsibilities, whether as a husband, wife, or parent. Therefore, it is crucial to reflect on the impact of our choices and prioritize love, dedication, and the well-being of those around us above fleeting pleasures. These are the true foundations of a full life aligned with God's teachings. Fall in love with your spouse. Fall in love with your children. They are worth more than the pleasure of sin. The pleasure of sin is deceptive. It will trick you into thinking that you can live a double life. You really cannot. What is that secret pleasure you have that your spouse or family knows nothing about? That secret has the potential to destroy you. Sin is inherently deceitful and destructive, as stated in Numbers 32:23. Be sure your sin will find you out. Be absolutely sure that your sin will be revealed. In conclusion, as we move towards 2024, the need to be vigilant has never been so crucial. We are on the brink of facing global trends such as global unity, apostasy, technological advancement, and moral decay. These are not mere observations. They serve as signposts that exhort us to reflect, discern, and act based on our convictions. While the world may turn towards a new order, believers must find strength in their faith and the Scriptures. We must stand firm, nurturing our relationship with God and reinforcing the foundations of our beliefs. Want more impactful revelations like this? Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and don't miss any videos. Like this video, leave your comment below, and share it. Join us in the quest for truth. See you next time.